Special thanks to Polyphonic for giving me the idea for this series. Check out his channel at the link below. Dropping almost 3 years ago, AstroWorld was one of the biggest musical events of the last 5 years. It was basically the musical equivalent of a Marvel movie. People had been waiting for years to listen to Travis bring so many different artists, producers, and ideas together in one huge project. And it didn't disappoint. In fact, AstroWorld went 3 times platinum in its first year. It sold 530,000 units in a week. It spawned a music festival and arguably made Travis the most famous rapper alive overnight. It was full of appearances from artists like Drake, Kid Cudi, Frank Ocean, James Blake, The Weeknd, Tame Impala, 21 Savage, Juice WRLD, and many, many more. And you can see how this record was just an all-out maximalist experiment in hip-hop. And the album was visually stunning as well, with video budgets in the tens of millions and views in the billions. I think you get it. AstroWorld was a major success, one of the biggest moments in recent hip-hop history. And its cover art may be its most recognizable feature. This thing was and still is everywhere, despite looking absolutely nothing like other hip-hop album covers. The giant gold head was immortalized after it mysteriously appeared all over the US leading up to the album's release, and it's since become one of the trademarks of Travis's AstroWorld festival as well. So in this video, we're going to find out who made it, how he made it, and how exactly it became so iconic. AstroWorld isn't the first or the last time Travis has merchandised and, as a result, immortalized an album cover. In fact, a lot of his cover art has been part of a larger branding scheme. With Rodeo, the action figure on the album's cover was sold alongside the record for $150. At the time, people laughed, but today the figures sell online for thousands. Similarly for Jack Boys, they made 3 Hot Wheels copies of the BMW M3 on the cover, and it sold out instantly.
What's up, world? Yeah, you. I'm Travis Scott. This is my McDonald's order. Follow me.
Anyway, it's gotten to the point where Travis himself is a merch item. The guy literally has a McDonald's meal named after him. There was Travis Scott cereal. He's making his own brand of alcohol. He's got 100 different major brand shoe collabs, some more popular than others, but all of it adds up to one result. Travis puts his name on everything. And who could better orchestrate the cover of AstroWorld, Travis's biggest project yet, besides David LaChapelle, the master of surreal, consumeristic imagery with his iconic, glossy, hyper-realistic photos. A happy family walking into the park while a custodian cleans near them. Seemingly located near a scrapyard with an old junker to the right. A rocket on the left with an AstroWorld globe and a statue. 2 kids in the foreground. One licks a lollipop and one jumps with popcorn in his hand. The massive inflatable head takes center stage. Everything else is window dressing. Its darker component is striking too. It's nighttime now. The party's over. Or is it? There are women everywhere, the car is on fire, graffiti on the roller coaster seats, and of course, a nod to the classic Travis Scott action figure. Everything is darker, more broken, more enticing. It's the sideshow version. In all, AstroWorld's covers are otherworldly. Full of color and with a wide depth of field, everything is in focus all at once. It looks surreal, like a diorama, not like real life or a typical album cover at all. It could be something more. It is something more. And it was all orchestrated by one man, David LaChapelle. David LaChapelle is a photographer from Connecticut, my home state. Even from a young age, he had a mind for photography, getting hired for his first gig by Andy Warhol at the age of just 17, with some of his earliest experience as a professional photographer in the pages of magazines like GQ, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, and many more. Since then, LaChapelle has become one of the most recognizable photographers alive today, with his materialistic, pop surrealist images featured in galleries all around the world, from exhibitions in Mexico, Israel, Taiwan, and South Korea to Sweden and Italy. But LaChapelle's style isn't like most other photographers, I think for a few reasons. Firstly, he's heavily influenced by fine art of the past. Sculptures, Romantic-era paintings, LaChapelle's photos have a decidedly gallery-like quality. Take a photo like Deluge. Even though it's full of postmodern, hyper-consumerist imagery, the poses, perspectives, and colors are reminiscent of oil paintings of centuries past. Indeed, LaChapelle's photo looks like it may be inspired directly by John Martin's 1834 oil painting of the same name. Many of his photos take heavy inspiration from art styles of the past, and most of them are full of either sexual, religious, or consumerist imagery, sometimes all 3. But LaChapelle isn't just an obscure conceptual fine art photographer. For most of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, he was one of the most famous celebrity photographers alive, photographing iconic shots of Michael Jackson, Andy Warhol, Madonna, Tupac, Leonardo DiCaprio, Angelina Jolie, everybody. In the mid-2000s, he moved to Hawaii to become an off-grid farmer, but it wasn't long before he he was dragged back to celebrity photography, once again shooting iconic photos of Kanye, Rihanna, the Kardashians, and eventually, of course, he was hired to lend his surreal, colorful, cinematic style to the cover of AstroWorld. AstroWorld was released with LaChapelle's covers, and it was a smash hit. Selling more than 500,000 copies in its first week, it was the second best-selling hip-hop album of the entire year. But its release was accompanied by some serious controversy. You see, one of the models on the alternate nighttime cover was trans model Amanda Lepore, a longtime friend and collaborator of David LaChapelle. However, at the last second, her likeness was removed with no explanation. Naturally, people thought the decision may have been because of her gender identity, but LaChapelle and Travis later clarified it had nothing to do with her specifically. Rather, they just thought that she was too eye-catching to stay on the cover. It was later said that Frank Ocean had taken legal action against Travis over the situation, though they never addressed it directly and later talked about being on good terms with each other. Looking back now, a few years on, David LaChapelle's photo for AstroWorld has ended up being one of the most recognizable album covers of our generation. Travis Scott has always been an artist to make a big visual statement, and AstroWorld was no exception. In fact, I would say it raised the bar for album covers everywhere, because a good album cover does more than represent the artist and tell you what you're about to listen to. A good album cover will tell you what you're about to feel while listening to the album. A good record cover picks the perfect colors to represent the sound of its record, and AstroWorld is a record full of different sounds and colors. I can't think of anyone who could have represented it better than David LaChapelle did with his otherworldly style. I'm Philip, this is Volksgeist, and you just watched a cover story.